Step up your home decor game at HomeSense, the newest member of the home goods family. Every day you'll find game-changing savings on rugs, lamps and chandeliers, furniture, and more for inside and outside your home. Make your backyard the envy of the neighborhood. HomeSense is a new shopping adventure on every visit. New finds arrive all the time, so it's never the same store twice. For brands you love at prices that make sense, take a virtual tour and find a store near you at homesense.com.
At Children's National Hospital, everything we do is just for kids. Our top-ranked specialists are here for kids of all ages, from babies who need help before they're even born to teens and young adults. Our pediatric experts work together to diagnose problems quickly and thoroughly and use treatments designed exclusively for growing children. With convenient locations all across the DC metro area, find a specialist today at childrensnational.org/stronger.
This show is being dedicated to the memory of Tommy Johnson Sr.
I'm Tommy Johnson Jr., and this is The Skinny.
From the Fatheads Eyewear Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. Brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, General Tire, and Dream Giveaway. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by General Tire. The summer is quickly approaching, and General Tire wants to put some money back in your pockets because now through April 30th, 2021, with the purchase of 4 new qualifying General Tire passenger tires, you'll receive up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. Choose from the Summer Ultra High Performance G-Max RS, the All-Season Ultra High Performance G-Max AS05, and the All-Season Touring Ultimax RT43 lines. Prepare to prove that anywhere is possible this summer with General Tire. For more information, visit GeneralTire.com. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Skinny. Ken Stout and Rico Elmore back in the studio once again, and a very special guest will join us. Has been behind the wheel since he was 15 years old, and just one day ago celebrated his 53rd birthday. Tommy Johnson Jr. in the house. Tommy, thanks, buddy, for coming over here. Did I get that right, by the way, 53?
Yeah, unfortunately you did, yeah. But, yeah, just yesterday. I had a hard time getting up out of bed yesterday, so, yes, it was obviously 53.
A little harder than the day before anyways.
Sure,
I feel a year older.
I get it.
Great to have you with us, man. You've been racing for a long, long time and at the highest levels.
Yeah, it's been a long career. You know, everybody says, you know, man, you've been around a long time. You're old. I said, I'm not old. I'm just experienced. You know, I've been doing this a long time. And, you know, it started when I was like 15 years old and racing my first national event in Gainesville, Florida in 1984, and just kept working my way up through all the ranks and was able to make a career out of it. You know, it's I've had a good time. You know, I mean, been able to race your entire life and never really having a job, it seemed like. Just always, it was more of a passion that I had and got paid to do it.
Yeah, not a guy coming from huge wealth. You talked about starting at 15, and you started off in the 990 class. You were running super gas and then 890 class and super comp, so you literally did work your way up through the classes into alcohol and then eventually into fuel.
Yeah, I mean, I actually started when I was 8 years old. They didn't have junior dragsters like they do now for the kids. We had a bunch of us kids at the track, and we had mini bikes, and we would ride them around the pits, and they were afraid we were going to get hit. You know, somebody's going to hit you in the pits, so we're going to let you race them. You can't ride them in the pits, but you can race them on the track. So
really?
I started when I was 8 years old and started racing mini bikes. And
so they brought you guys out on the track?
Yeah. It was
no
about
kidding.
6 or 8
I've never heard this story. That's awesome.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, and that was when the hook was set. You know?
Helmets or no helmets?
Oh, yeah, I had to have a helmet. You know,
okay, just checking. It was back in the day. Helmet wasn't as big a deal as it is now.
Had to have a leather jacket and a helmet. That's all you had to have. And, I raced bikes until I was about 13, 14 years old, and then transferred into a car, bracket raced at a local track, and, you know, did it the right way, the grassroots, worked my way up, you know, ran a bracket car, then super gas, and just kept working your way up in little faster cars. And fortunately, had a little family support that my dad, he also raced when I first started, but then decided that it was time for me to take over, and here's your keys and go. So were you very mechanical as well? Were you hands-on when it came to working on the car? You know, in the early days, I wasn't. I didn't know. Dad never taught me how to do it. You know, I was always in the garage and watched, but then he would be at work and the car was broke, so somebody had to fix it, and I learned how to do it really fast. Yeah, so became very mechanically hands-on after that, and we didn't have the big budgets, so we didn't have a big crew. So somebody had to get the work done. So I drove the truck when I raced Top Fuel. I drove the semi to the races, did the clutch in between runs, drove the car. Everybody left. It seemed like we had volunteer crew. They all left and went home on the plane, and I drove the truck back home and serviced everything in between races myself, and then showed up the track again.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous.
I'm telling you. So, but that was the car you won in '93, right?
Yeah,
with a Mopar Connect, right?
Yeah, Mopar Dragster. It was our family Top Fuel car, and our budget was about not even a quarter of the other teams. So we were just trying to do our best out there, make the whole tour, and we're able to pull off a couple wins in that car. So it was kind of neat to see the underfunded guys to beat the big boys, and kind of set the tone from that helped me along the way in my career.
Scrapping away with a family car, man. It's you hear of family cars now, but it's a whole different atmosphere. It's got big money behind it, or you're really not playing the game. But back then, there were some family teams that were still hanging in there.
Yeah, you could survive. We weren't super competitive all the time, and I did finish top 10 in the points. Most of the years we had our own family team, but it was a huge battle to take on the big funded teams, and we were able to pull it off. And my dad did all the talking, and then was getting a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, and kept us going to each race. And it was a good run. I think we had our own family Top Fuel team for about 10 years. So it's a lot of good memories. It was a tremendous amount of work. I look back at it now, and I wouldn't do that now.
Were you running it out of the gate, or was your dad in it first, or how did that all?
No, my dad raced the pro stock a little bit back in the early 70s, had a real bad wreck, and then went back to just basically sportsman racing and doing that. So when we went to Top Fuel, we had zero experience in Top Fuel. We actually bought an alcohol funny car first, and we thought we could do that affordably, and did pretty good. I think I finished third in the points that year, won my first national event in an alcohol funny car. And then when I wanted to go fuel, who doesn't want to go nitro racing? You want to go faster.
Right.
And they were having a tremendous amount of fires in funny cars at the time. The guys were getting burned up, and it was a bad time for funny car fires. And my dad says, well, we'll go nitro, but you're not getting in a funny car. You're going to a dragster. So that's how I ended up in the Top Fuel car instead of a funny car. You would think you would race an alcohol dragster, then go to Top Fuel, but I ran an alcohol funny car and went to Top Fuel, and just because of the fires. So
what was the fires about? What was that?
Well, back in the day, it was right when they were before the carbon fiber bodies. They had fiberglass bodies on them. They didn't have the fireproof paint underneath of them. You throw the rods out of it, catches the body on fire, and the thing burns to the ground. There's nothing left but ash when it's done. And guys they had the brilliance of them make these cars light and fast. Where they have a lot of magnesium panels on the car. Well, they made the seats out of magnesium. Well, the mag, once it starts burning, doesn't stop. So guys were getting burned up in the car because of the magnesium seats and the no fire protection on the bodies. And
wow,
it's amazing that they did this,
And the bodies stayed on the car at the time. They didn't blow off, break away. And so the guys were just housed inside of this inferno.
Yeah, rarely would you see the body come off back then. And, they kick the rods out and have a big oil fire. And the next thing you know, the thing's at the top end of the track burning to the ground. The guy's still in there.
I think that's when Force came up with that whole fresh air concept to keep some of the fumes out, some of the smoke out.
I tell you, I've had several funny car fires since then, but it's kind of funny. The first fire I ever had in a funny car, 99, I switched over and started driving funny cars, and first fire, I see the thing blows up, has a fire, and you got these little windows in the dash so you can see if the engine's on fire. I see flame in them, and I'm grabbing those bottles as fast as I can. Man, get that thing out. And I'm like, they're like, that wasn't a very big fire. I'm like, I don't care. It was on fire, So this.
Now we got a big mess.
Yeah, well then you do it for a few years, and I'm like, it blows up, and you see a fire, I go, it's not that bad.
Well, now you're thinking about the crew guy in the back of your mind, like, I don't want to get yelled at again.
Yeah, well, like, these bottles cost money. Well, okay. I'm like, it's not too bad. It'll go out, But yeah, the fresh air system in the funny car fires, the biggest problem is the fumes. It's not really the fire. All the fires I've had, I've never had any problem with fire. It's you can't breathe. The toxic fumes, the carbon or the oil, and everything's burning. And it definitely helps give you a little more time to breathe. It gets rid of some of those fumes. It helps keep the smoke away from you. And I had one really pretty good fire, and the air system did pretty well. But right before it was stopped, I said it was time to go. So I unbuckled and out I came. I think I got her slowed to about 15, 20 miles an hour, but it was time. It was time to go.
I'm almost surprised that they didn't work in, and I know they have better ways of doing it now, but because the drag boat guys have been doing it for so long, I'm almost surprised they didn't work in the fresh air system that they put in, that the drag boat guys use, because clearly they do the same thing. They blow up, catch on fire, and then they sink.
Yeah.
So they've got to have a way to live. And the breathing apparatus inside of that helmet is all sealed off so that they have good oxygen the entire time.
Yeah, at least you're on pavement. I mean, you don't sink.
Yeah.
You know, you're still sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, it helps keep your glasses from fogging up as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I've learned a few tricks in my day on that. Yeah.
So 2007, speaking of fires, I think you're at Englishtown, qualify number 1. Round 1, burn the car to the ground, and the guys thrash for 75 minutes, get one back together, you come back, win the next couple of rounds, and win the race, man. Talk to me about that event.
Yeah, that was the fire I was talking about. Yeah, that was it was weird because, you know, we weren't having big fires in funny cars, and won first round, and it blew up right at the finish line. I'm like, whoa, I put the bottles on, and it wouldn't go out. It just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I finally bailed out of the thing and tried to get the body up, but it folded when I got it up, but it shouldn't have happened. We should not have made the next round. The guys, and luckily I had a tremendous team, a group of guys that were like no other in the pits, and they had everything made spare already, ready to go. They'd kind of planned for this, you know, worst case scenario. And we just bolted a new car together between runs. I had to put new seatbelts in. It was burned so bad it burned the seatbelts out of it, you know. And it was amazing. We made the next round. And then it's kind of a funny story that we had to race. I can't remember. I think it was Whit Bazemore, and his guys told him, "Hey, just don't do anything stupid. They thrashed and put this car back together. Something probably going to leak, or it's not going to work right. They're just going up there to try to get you to screw up." I think we went out and set low ET of the whole race day that next run. You know, and I heard his comment was, "I thought you said it wasn't going to make it." You know, and then we went to the next round, and I think I won on a whole shot, and then beat Tony Pedregon in the final. I mean, it's just it was the ultimate win. You never should come back from that fire, and made it to the next round, and we went on to win the race that day. And it was a tribute to the team. I mean, it was an incredible job they did.
With Snake, right?
Yeah, it was with Don Perdome Racing, Snake Racing, and it was really cool. And it was kind of neat. There was 3 or 4 other teams that came over from other teams to help us, and they just kind of said, "Well, it looks like you're okay. We'll stand back," you know. And they pitched in a little bit, but it was pretty cool that the guys. You shouldn't be able to put a car together in 75 minutes.
So
it takes them a week in the shop, you know.
Right. Now Snake knows that it can be done in 75 minutes. He's like, "What the hell am I paying these guys for?"
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Speaking of Perdome, you've driven for some of the biggest names in the industry. Certainly Schumacher, Perdome, as you talked about, Kenny Bernstein, and the coach Joe Gibbs as well. So coming from a house car to drive for people like that's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's everybody asks you what's your biggest accomplishment in racing, and that's certainly one of them. You know, to be able to drive for the legends of the sport. I mean, Joe Gibbs was my first foray into funny cars, and I'd never driven a nitro funny car, and I got the phone call, "Hey, we're switching drivers. You think you want to drive a funny car?" Sure.
So who was that before?
Cruz.
That's
Cruz
what
Pedregon.
I thought. That was Cruz was in that car because Corey Mack was in.
He was in the dragster.
Yeah, in the dragster.
And it's you know, everybody said, how'd you get that call? You'd never driven a nitro funny car. And Jim Brissett was actually helping as a consultant for both teams, kind of a crew chief consultant for both crew chiefs, and he was my first crew chief in Top Fuel that helped us with our family car. And he said, "You did a good job, and I knew you did it with not much money, and you drove the car, and you knew what was going on because you were mechanical with it. I didn't overdrive the car because if it blew it up, well, we weren't going to race because we didn't have a spare this or that, you know." Right. So he said, "I told him they ought to give you a call." So, you know, if it wasn't for him, I might not have ever got in a nitro funny car. So got in that funny car and just, you know, drove for Gibbs, and then unfortunately it was only a half of a season, and the funny car team went away at the end of that year, but we ran half a season and still finished top 10 in the points, and I really regret that. I wish we could have ran another season. I think we could have won the championship. That was such a good caliber team, and then the next year I drove for Al Hoffman, and in between those, you know, and then I went to Perdome's, and that was he was an idol of mine when I was a kid. You know, the Snake. Who didn't have the Snake and the mongoose as a kid?
Absolutely.
California cool.
Yeah, no so I got that gig and got a race for Snake and really enjoyed that. I mean, he and I are very close. Still talk all the time. Our birthdays were both yesterday. His birthday was yesterday, so I happened to win my first race for Perdome on our birthday in Vegas.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was a cool time. And you know, the U.S. Smokeless Tobacco sponsorship went away with all the tobacco sponsorships, so I went right from there to Kenny Bernstein, and he decided to step
car.
out. Yeah, got in the monster car, and worst year of my whole career. It was just one of those things where nothing ever went right that year.
It was a tough gig over there in general. I mean, as good as they were on the fuel stuff, on the top fuel stuff, the funny car,
it just never flowed.
Yeah.
And after that, I sat out for a little while. It was tough. The economy was not doing well, and not many rides around, and went to work for Schumacher and did some odd jobs at the shop. I was purchasing agent for the whole team. I did
was
the
getting ready
track
to say,
jobs.
it kind of, right.
So right. It was on the premise, hey, we'll get you in a car. Just come to work for us for a while. And after about 3 years, I'm thinking, I'm not in a car yet, so I'm going to do something different.
We're going to throw something else at him and see if he'll stay, and then we'll put him in the car.
Yeah. So I quit, actually. And then he hired me to drive a car. So, I figured out what was wrong there. As long as I was doing a good job on the other stuff, he wasn't going to put me in a car.
We can find a driver, no problem, but we can't find anybody to do what he's doing here. So let's just leave things.
He's really watching. He's really watching over the purchasing. So we're definitely.
Yeah, we've never had anybody that good in that department. Just leave that one ride for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it got back in that, and great 7 years with there. Great team, and I've got most of my wins in that last 7 years just because of the caliber of team and just a great deal to be involved with Terry Chandler funding that team and donating it away to charity and running a cars branded Make-A-Wish that they paid nothing for, but we did all kinds of stuff for them and see all those kids come out to the track. And, in your later years of your career, you start looking at things differently, and to see what those kids were going through and see what, to have them out to the track and see them have fun and be a kid for a day. It was really fun, really a good time.
It makes you realize how fortunate you are.
Yeah. You have a bad day. Yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah.
The Indy car that was always the Riley car. I mean, I saw it was the Riley car most times. It was, I mean, of course, going through what I went through with my daughter, of course, she's 29, so was 28 at the time. But, she's small. So, there were people that were consulting from that side, and what a great organization. But, I knew Johnny a little bit, didn't know Terry at all or her husband. But, man, what amazing things she did and they did. And I thought I watched a lot of the wins that you guys had together, and the pure emotion that would come from her in winning was just, second to none.
Loved it. Loved racing. And, her brother retired. She says, well, what am I supposed to do? And he says, well, sponsor a car. You can keep going to the races, and she did and just loved it. She was there every test run we made. It didn't matter where we raced at. And then to have her pass from brain cancer, and it was.
Had she been going through that?
No, it was very sudden, very quick. Wow. It was a matter of by the time they figured out something's wrong with her, and within 3.5 months she was gone. It was that quick. So her husband continued it in her honor and continued that for three more years.
Right? Yeah.
We ran the Riley Children's Hospital car here at Indianapolis every year, and then the last season we ran MD Anderson Cancer Center. That's where she had been treated at. Don Schumacher had been treated there, and her husband had been treated there. So it was nice to run a tribute car to MD Anderson and all the things they've done for people.
Yeah,
I doubt. I didn't realize all the intertwining of the families between the Grays and the Chandlers.
Yeah, that's Johnny Gray is Terry Chandler's brother. So she used to go with her brother and loved racing, and then he decided to retire from racing, and she says, well, I'm not ready to retire from racing. So she stepped up and had her own team.
And I was looking at something earlier, and I kind of remember it, but a tribute to their father, right?
Yeah.
And that was a pretty neat deal. And
really neat car, really neat paint scheme. Most of these cars are wraps nowadays, and that thing was hand painted with their dad on the back of it and the oil wells in the background. And
big oil industry, self-made guy.
He was one of the original guys in oil, in New Mexico, and had a piece of property and decided to drill a hole and see if there was oil in it. And he struck some, and next thing you know, he's got Marbob oil, and they're going to
Jeb's
town.
a millionaire.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story. Yes, it is.
I think it was a B.
Yeah.
I don't think it was an M. I think it was a B. So
millions there.
Yeah.
But it was, and you know what? What a great family.
Wouldn't know they had a dime.
No.
Wouldn't know they. I know Terry. She used to be embarrassed because she bought her jeans at Walmart, and she could have bought whatever jeans. She could have had them handmade. And she went to Walmart to get her jeans. She just liked the way they fit.
Well, there you go. Whatever makes you happy, right?
Yeah.
So 37 years, if I'm not mistaken, in and out, as you said, 450 events, man. I mean, it's quite an effort for the people that are in the industry, especially for your length of time. You certainly have a good grasp at how difficult it is, A, to just get in, but B, to stay in for a run like that and have those kind of numbers. You're a select few for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. I mean, I think last season it was John Force and I were the two longest running drivers currently out there.
He's got 20 more years. I mean, Force is still going. I mean,
I know. I'm trying to get him out of the seat because, all these, Joe Gibbs and Perdomo and Bernstein and Schumacher. Force wouldn't be a bad one to add to that. Force and Coletta, I kind of figured that's
Legends row.
I mean, if they're looking right now, I'm just saying. So, yeah, it's really neat. Is that little bit of off time I had there between Bernstein's and Schumacher's. I was fortunate enough to get a call and go overseas. I went to Europe and raced Top Fuel Dragster over in Europe. I went to Middle East, raced a car in Abu Dhabi, a Top Fuel Dragster. I've raced in Australia. I won a Top Fuel trophy, a race in Top Fuel Dragster in 6 different countries. So it's
I remember the Australian one.
Yeah, it's at home I have my trophies, NHRA trophies in an area, and then I have this other little section over here that are international trophies. So it's kind of cool. That's the one thing that you always look to see the stats and see where you're at on the stats, and well, there's nobody that has 6 Top Fuel trophies from 6 different countries, and so that's the cool thing. I got one thing that nobody else has.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I read. Help me confirm something here. I read on Competition Plus 21 wins, but NHRA 23 fuel wins.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to go downstairs and count them. I think it's 23 or 20. It's 23 national event wins, and I think that might include one alcohol funny car win.
And then you have a handful of IHRA wins as well.
Yeah, I got 5 or 6 of those. Yeah, I got some IHRA wins, and got my first national event win was IHRA back in the day, 1987. I think I won a alcohol funny car race in Bristol, Tennessee. So yeah, it was the first national event I'd won.
Thunder Valley.
Yeah, that track's been good to me.
Thunder Valley, and it was they were at the boat races about a week ago there when I was there. Not a dirt track.
Dirt boat races, yeah.
Oh my
God,
God,
the whole place is underwater, man. Incredible, incredible year whenever you take a look at it, and arguably 2020, maybe certainly one of your best, if not the best, all along the way, and nearly winning a championship.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot lately. I mean, we were that close. We were right there, and finished second in the points, and went down to the last day of the year, at Vegas, and got to the semifinals, and it came clear to the semifinals, almost, to the last run of the year, and it was close. We had a great season, and I look back on it, and we didn't lose it at Vegas. We lost it earlier in the year. We had a connecting rod break first round at the U.S. Nationals, biggest race of the year. I'm number 1 qualifier, and it breaks a connecting rod in first round. We lose, and
wow.
Who knows where we would have went that day, but we did have a strong car that weekend and looked like we were in contention to win. And then, so you have to look back the whole year, and see where things fell apart. But yeah, it was a really good year. I finished second twice in the funny car points. So yeah, it was frustrating to not get that championship. And then at the end of the year, the sponsorship has gone away, and you're sitting here thinking, man, I finished second last year, and well, we're gonna have to regroup and figure out how to come back.
We're going to take a quick break here. We'll be right back on the other side with Tommy Johnson Jr. Stay with us.
The redesigned Jaguar F-Type can take you places no other sports car can. To a transcendent state where power, performance, and design make driving sublime. Where all that matters to you is the road and the roar of the engine. The supercharged V8 in the F-Type R can go from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Always follow local speed limits. The resculpted hood, swept-back headlights, and seductive contours slice through the wind. Inside, the cockpit is driver-focused with a configurable digital instrument panel that provides all the information you need. It's an exhilarating combination of design and performance that makes the Jaguar F-Type like no other sports car in the world. Learn more at JaguarUSA.com.
This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. Once again, welcome back to The Skinny. In the house here with us is Tommy Johnson Jr., longtime racer. I was going to say legendary racer, but I try not to use that word over and over and over again. And actually, it makes people feel a little funny sometimes too. But
most of them are dead.
Certainly, yeah.
Well, Ken gets
Certainly
called a
worthy of
legend.
it.
Ken gets called a legend all the time.
Well,
so
I
he
had a
doesn't
guy.
mind.
I actually had a fellow broadcaster who used to refer to me as a legend, Ken Stout, all the time, and I hated it. I mean, I hated it because I don't think I'm worthy of it. So, and I'm not. So, now I'm very hesitant about using the word, even though it probably does apply in a case like this. But Tommy Johnson Jr., longtime racer, and has accomplished so much under the umbrella of the NHRA series. Great to have him in the house, and already filled us in on some great stories. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here because 2020, we were talking about what a great year you had. 3 wins, 3 number 1 qualifiers in the hunt for the championship right to the very end. And then March 18th, 2021 is a day that you'll never forget in your life.
Yeah. It's you never expect that your parents are going to pass. I mean, my dad had beaten cancer 2 or 3 times, and you just think that they're invincible. But I got the phone call. I was at Lowe's and one afternoon on Saturday and got a phone call that my dad had a stroke. So it was very impactful. It was a tough deal, and it's hard. I never had experience with it, and now I feel for others that have. It's something you don't want to have to deal with, but life goes on.
So I'm fortunate in the fact that I've spent the past 15 years plus racing with my son. Every race he's been in, I think I've been at or very, very close to. But his career, I've been able to be a big part of that career and help him out. And I know that's exactly the relationship you had with your father, only much longer. Yeah,
that's my dad and I were like oil and water a lot of times, but at the same time, we traveled together for years. I wouldn't have never probably been a drag racer if it wasn't for him. I as a kid, I grew up at the racetrack every Saturday, and then started racing, and we went to the races every weekend. And then as my career progressed, he was there every race. I know one race. It was my first Top Fuel race in Pomona in 1990, and it got rained out, and they were going to let us have a test run the next Friday. And he wasn't at that run, but that's about the only run that I think he wasn't there at the track when I was racing. And, then when the family team went away, he would still come to the races and support me, even though I was driving for someone else. He would still be there, and Mom and him would get the motor home and make a trip to the races and hang out and be supportive. So, yeah, huge part of my career. And a scrapper. I heard I never had a chance to meet him, but Rico was already telling stories. You mentioned him having a wicked crash, 73 in pro stock, and the doctors, everybody thought there's no way he's going to survive this. Really, they just counted him out to the point that he had to go back and have surgery after he got better, and they realized he was going to survive. They had to fix some stuff that they didn't fix, thinking he wasn't going to make it. Yeah, back in the day, those cars weren't the safest things around, and it blew a tire, went off the track. Track didn't have guardrails past finish line, and it somebody parked where they weren't supposed to, and it hit a ramp truck head on, and
oh wow,
they didn't have shoulder harnesses and they just had a lap belt, and a 2-inch stock factory lap belt was in there, and it about cut him in half basically and exploded his intestines, and he went through multiple surgeries, and it wasn't had gangrene set in, and just the story I read was he died 3 times. Yeah, he died. They didn't have the helicopter life flights back then. They transported him in the ambulance, and they had to pull off the side of the road 2 or 3 times and bring him back. And it's funny, he got his nickname 9 Lives after that because he wasn't supposed to make it, and he passed 2 or 3 times and then came back, and he had some good stories about that as well. But
he was never short of a story.
No, he loved to talk. That's for sure. Yeah, Rico can verify that. My dad loved to talk, and
I loved listening to him.
And never met a stranger in his life.
Nope.
I used to get so aggravated. I'm like, these people don't want to talk to you, Dad. Leave them alone. Like, oh no, I got to know them. I know their family. I know about this, and And he remembered everything. Had an incredible memory.
Yeah.
Remember everything. Remember that one time we did that? I'm like, no, I don't remember that. And he would remember everything. But
he didn't get the tire shake as much as you did.
He obviously didn't get the tire shake. I don't remember that much as he did.
Yeah, you put your head in that paint shaker, it'll rattle some things out, man, for sure.
That's exactly what I call it, too. It's like putting your head in a paint shaker. Yeah. But, yeah, he knew everybody in the world and loved to talk. And he was the first one to ever do mail-order race car parts. Before the Jegs and the Summits back in the day, he started a mail-order racing parts business. And and kind of got that industry going. And then he was kind of the innovator of that. And we had his phones, and he loved to talk. I always told him, I said, you need a computer system in here. And he's like, I don't want a computer. I got to talk to these people. They need parts they don't know they need. So they would buy stuff they didn't know they need. Yes,
get them in the store, man. We'll sell them something.
Yeah. They'd call in and order parts and bought 3 times the amount of stuff they didn't know they needed it, but they did.
I'll sell you a blower, but if you put a blower on it, you're going to need pistons, rod, crank, and you need everything.
Yeah.
You're going to need all this other stuff. It'll break it if you don't. So.
Well, that's what the classy guys did. I mean, and honestly, those guys probably helped us out more than we knew. Somebody like that, and just some kid like me would call up and order something. I don't know what I'm doing. And
getting ready to just blow the rear end clear out of it because you're putting too much to it.
So that's super cool. And like you said, I mean, coming back, he got that nickname 9 Lives, and then we were talking about it in the office before we started the show here. Beat cancer. You said not once or twice, but 3 different times, and then wrote a book about it.
Yeah, he got a cancer diagnosed, a colon cancer, and they basically told him he had 3 months to live, and that he should get his affairs in order. And he said, "I'm not ready to die. I'm not going to do this." And so he researched it out and found, alternative methods of trying to beat cancer. And he said, "I'm going to give it a shot. Let's see what happens." I mean, they've stopped my treatment. Why not? And 3 months later, he went back for his checkup, and he was cancer-free. So they were a little amazed by that.
Stopped his treatment.
Yeah, they stopped the treatments and said, you need to just get things in order because it's not working.
Go home, it's over.
Yeah.
And so help me out here. Fans are listening in, and they're probably going to say, okay, wrote a book on getting rid of cancer. But it is a legitimate, it is worth a read for sure. There is at least what worked for him, a way to get rid of it.
That's what he said. It may not work for everybody, but it worked for him. And then it's helped a lot of people, actually. A lot of he wouldn't give advice because he said, I don't want to be liable for anything, but this is what I did, and if you'd like to try it, go ahead, and it kind of walks you through it. Some of the things you're going to see along the way, and your attitude about it, and just different ways of going about treatment. They some money wise, sometimes it's not always what is actually out there to help you, and this is a little different way of doing it, and he beat it once, and then later in his life he had another a tumor up in his neck, from a whole other type of cancer, and got right back on that stuff, and it's gone again, and I think 3 times he beat cancer with that, so it was amazing. It worked flawlessly for him, and I know it's worked for a lot of people because when my dad passed, I got a lot of messages about the people that it's helped throughout the years.
Yeah, cancer has affected so many people, as we know, and everybody here in this room, his daughter, my daughter, your father, obviously. So
it's amazing you said the attitude. It is amazing how big of a play that is on it. And
you got to be ready to fight. Yeah, you got to be ready to fight.
When I showed up at the hospital, on our situation, I showed up and Caitlin was sitting there. She had been in and out of the hospital. It was her 3rd time that she was there, and they were getting ready to kick her out again. So, we don't know. And the oncologist said, she's not going anywhere until we get this test back. They get the test back. The lady comes in. She tells her what's happened and, what's going on. And I'll never, I've said this before, but I'll never forget it. I was standing in the shop up there working in the back of the van, helping one of the guys. And Una called me and said, she said what had happened, and I can't even verbalize it, but told me, and I got in my truck. I literally went to my office, grabbed something, got in my truck, and left, and I got lost going to St. Vincent's Hospital from here. I've lived here 30 years, and I got lost. And, that's how bad it was. But I show up, and I walk in, and she's just sitting there. And I said, "How's it going?" "It's all right." I said, "So how's your faith?" "I'm not really sure." I said, "Okay, we're going to probably need to get in touch with that a little bit here." But she's been amazing. And, you talking about the attitude of it is, and it is so tough to do because especially at 28, you're kind of.
Well, it makes you feel so helpless as a father. My daughter was a little less than a year old, and I was driving a tractor trailer at the time, and I was probably in California, but I got a phone call from my wife, who was in the healthcare industry. So she knew exactly what it meant when the doctor told her that my daughter had a tumor that accounted for 1/3 of her body weight at the time.
So how old have you got a call? Did you have a cell phone then?
That's a great question, man.
Because that's been a long.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Think about those. He was talking about trucking, and I was like,
and the only thing I can think of, we used to have check-in times. I drove cross country, so I'd have check-in times when I would call back to Joe Miller, who owned the company, and my guess is she had contacted him to tell him whenever Ken calls in, have him call me. So I did, and because I remember saying to her, me not knowing, I just didn't put it together, right? And I said, so is that something I need to come home for right away? Like, what does this mean? I don't know what it means. Right. And she's, of course, trying to hold it together, but she said, yeah, you need to come home. So, yeah, I had no idea. She had bilateral Wilms tumors, so she had cancer in both kidneys and a 30% chance of long-term survival. So they ended up taking one kidney out, scraping the other kidney, and she rebounded. I guess if you're going to catch it whenever you're a young kid, it's probably the best time whenever you're so strong. But
kids are fighters. Yeah.
She came back, and she has two and a third one on the way now, and set records in high school for swimming. So you would just never know. And she's lived her whole life with one kidney. But we got really fortunate because there's a lot of people, as you well know, from the Make-A-Wish Foundation that just are not that fortunate. It's just a brutal disease. It's
amazing. The Make-A-Wish people told us that when they first started it, it was most kids that weren't going to make it, and the attitude in the wish actually gives them hope and gets them excited. And now most kids survive. They used to be for terminally ill kids, and now it's life challenging and life threatening illnesses.
Okay.
It's amazing that wish gives that much positive impact that they continue to fight.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, my mom passed of colon cancer as well. So, and then it was something where they had misdiagnosed. They did a test and they didn't get all the way to the end of the colon, which I guess is kind of a difficult thing to do properly, and missed that. So by the time they figured it out, it was too late. Cancer is a nasty, nasty disease, as we all know. For the fans that are listening, the name of the book is The True Story of How I Survived Absolute Terminal Cancer. So look that one up, and hopefully it helps somebody.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. So thanks to my dad, I've had plenty of colonoscopies in my life already.
Yeah, so. yeah, and you know what? And I've been doing them as well all along the way because of my mom. So better safe than sorry.
That's right.
And, they put you under, and you say all kind of silly stuff when you wake up, and then they tell you what you said, and it's not the end of the world for those that have not done it, and you're worried about doing it. It's a pretty simple process. So make sure you do it, because the end result, if you don't, can be devastating for sure. So, the great stories about your dad that I've already heard, and apparently he really enjoyed those ice-cold silver bullets as well, huh?
Yeah, Rico knows he does. Yeah. He had a really good time while he was here. Yeah, he enjoyed himself. So, big race fan. He loved racing more than anybody I know, and loved to, end of the day, have a little Coors Light with everybody and then talk about it. Yeah, well,
starting into the day? Is
well, yeah, that's
saying?
He'd have plenty while I was sitting there working, and he's watching me. Yeah, he had plenty of them while then.
He was supervising.
Yeah, he was a great supervisor.
But like I said, I love the guy to death, and we had a lot of fun together, and his mom included, Sarah, and we would start the day out, and he would call or text me, and you up there yet? And I'm like, yeah, well. Like I said, we were in our suite on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, and we would stand on the back deck and watch them come through the lights at the end. And it was an amazing place to watch it up high. Just for those who haven't taken in a drag race, go do it. It's unbelievable. But but he would call me and they camped, or their motorhome was right at the start-finish line. So he'd get on the golf cart, drive the golf cart around to the elevator, come up the elevator. He'd say, hey, got a case of Coors Light. And I said, okay. The first time he did it, I thought, man, that's a hell of a deal, because usually nobody brings anything. I said, that's a hell of a deal. And then I realized that was for him and Sarah. And it was gone by the end of the day, and I don't think anybody else got into the silver bullets during the day. So... But a lot of great stories, a lot of great fun, and he was one of a kind. So
yeah, he would invite you over to the motorhome. Hey, stop by and have a beer with me. End of the weekend, he said, "Man, I can't believe I brought like 15 or 20 cases of Coors Light and it's all gone." I think, do you think it had to do with and everybody you invited from the pit area over to have a beer with you?
Yeah,
maybe that's where it was.
Yeah, there's some beer drinkers in those pits, man.
Yeah.
Be careful who you invite over.
Yeah.
You said you were oil and water a lot of times with him, and that's what happens. I mean, well, first of all, it's your parents. I mean, you just tend to butt heads as you get older anyways. And then if you spend a lot of time together, the opportunity is there for it to happen even more. And then when you're at the racetrack, when all of the emotions can be at their highest or their lowest, and drag racing certainly the best at that. But to have your dad there, you've got to have some stories where, and I'm sure my son has stories about me where dad was just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, there was a few of those along the way. You know, he would try to. He always loved to tell you advice. You didn't want to hear it, but he would tell you anyway. He was going to tell you. He was a straight shooter. He told you how he thought, and there was no filter. And we would go at it quite often. And I mean, I won a race. I think it was in Columbus, Ohio, one time, and we were battling it out between rounds, trying to fix something. And he's telling me how to do it, and I'm telling him to be quiet. And I know what I got it. And we battled it out, and we're yelling and screaming at each other, and we go up for the final and win the race, and then we're happy as can be in the winner's circle. You know, it was great, you know. Right. And it was on Father's Day, I think, so it was like, yeah, okay, well, I'm sorry I yelled at you, but you shouldn't have told me, you know, like.
Doing the interview, I want to dedicate this to my dad.
Yeah, we would fight like cats and dogs, and then 5 minutes is over. It's history. You know, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's just that passion of everybody wanting to do well. You know,
we both want the same end result. It's just two different ways of getting there. Yeah.
There's more to driving a car than driving a car.
Yeah, well, I heard that a few times. Yeah, he, you know, as the career was progressing, he kept, gave me advice on everything, and the one thing he told me, and I was at first I'm like, yeah, okay, I know, yeah, there's stuff more you got to do more than drive a car. But as the years went on, I started realizing that it was true. You know, that what he was trying to tell me was driving the race car is probably the easiest part of the job. You know, it's all the other things that you need to be good at, and you need to work on everything, the whole package, instead of just driving a car. There's a lot of great drivers, but he can't do the media work. He can't do the interviews. He can't do the TV. He can't do the sponsor, meet and greets. And you need to work on the whole package. And he used to hit me with that all the time, is there's more to driving a car than driving a car, because there would be something I didn't want to do, or I'm like, I hate doing that, and he would throw that in there, and you go, okay, but you usually don't see the wealth of that knowledge they're giving you till it's afterwards. But fortunately, I picked it up along the way, and nowadays absolutely there's more to driving a race car. That's the easiest part of the job. And
of course, he just passed a couple of weeks ago, so you've yet to feel the full wrath of his loss. But as you go forward, if you're at the racetrack and you're getting inside of a car, doing whatever it is that you're doing, I think you had made a comment somewhere along the way. It's the small things, and now you pause and you think about those things.
Yeah, it's probably the silly things, something really silly it'll spark the memory. But it'll be tough. There'll be times that you'll be happy, and there'll be times you'll be sad, and plenty of sad days ahead, I'm sure.
Once again, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll come back on the other side and talk about some more racing here with Tommy Johnson Jr., some wonderful stories about his father who just recently passed.
We're making lower emission vehicles our priority. Reusable packaging, our priority. And carbon capture research to offset emissions, our priority. Because Earth is our priority. At FedEx, we know sustainability means a lot to you, and we feel the same way. Our goal is to be carbon neutral by 2040. We call it Priority Earth. FedEx, where now meets next.
The time for defense organizations to harness the power of the cloud is now. Discover how you can leverage cloud solutions to advance your mission at Part 3 of GDIT Emerge 2021. Tune in virtually on June 23rd to explore how cloud enables mission partners to modernize IT platforms and integrate new technologies anytime, anywhere. Hear from top leaders in government and industry to learn how the cloud is evolving the way the DoD defends assets, supports the warfighter, and gains tactical advantages. Register today at gdit.com/emerge.
This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Dream Giveaway. Dream Giveaway has been giving away high-end American muscle cars to raise money for charity since 2007. Dream Giveaway is known for giving away classic and new muscle and paying the federal taxes so the winners don't have to. For $25, you can jump in the game, and part of that goes to charity. You'll have a chance at winning some of the coolest cars on the planet. Check it out at dreamgiveaway.com. Once again, welcome back to the Skinny. Ken Stout, Rico Elmore here, hosting, and sitting right alongside Tommy Johnson Jr., 37-year veteran, over 450 events with the NHRA. 21 to 23 wins. We've established that. We're not going to pick an exact number. He'll check up on that one. One of 17, I believe, to win in both Top Fuel and in Funny Car. One of 18 to qualify number one in Funny Car and Top Fuel. So this tough guy sitting over here, and he is a tough guy, has a hobby, and one of his favorite hobbies is to make candles. What? Candle maker?
And I love what you use to make the candles.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
all like reuse. Like I saw the nitro piston.
Yeah.
A little disappointed you didn't bring a couple in to share. Just...
What's the
business is so busy right now. Yeah.
What's the nitro piston smell like? Like when the nitro cars fire up, it just burns the hell out of your eyes.
Well, I'm trying to replicate the nitro smell. I've been trying to figure out how to do that, and it's a harder smell to replicate than you'd think. It obviously is very expensive to get that smell. So,
yes.
Very much. Yeah, drum of that is they're not giving that away.
Yeah, it all started as I don't know. My wife conned me into doing it. You know, she saw a wine bottle made into a candle, and you ought to make me one of them. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then I found out it was kind of hard. And but I like a good challenge, so I kept at it, and I think it was about 12 or 13 bottles later, I finally got, there you go, look at that.
Honey, we need to kill another bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Because I ruined this one. So.
And then I'm a perfectionist, so I critiqued my job and figured out how to do a little better. And I started off by doing it by hand in bottles, and then I bought this little saw and little sander. Now I have about a $3,000 saw and about a $2,500 sander, but boy, they're nice now. They look really good now. Yeah.
And you do really cool stuff. Like I saw one, I think it was in a Jack Daniel's bottle.
Yeah.
That a little bit of everything. Some sort of jar or can that holds chocolates, like high-end chocolates.
Yeah, anything, any glass, anything made of glass, I'll cut it and make it look, make it into a candle. And I've made wine bottle chandeliers, making lights out of them. I've done a Jack Daniel's chandelier, and we've cut them in half and made little flower pots out of them. And we've made serving trays, little cheese and cracker trays out of them.
So what do you do? Go around to all the bars and, hey, if you got any bottles?
Well, I'm in racing, so I know a lot of people that like to partake in activities after the races. That I just go around the pits and load up my truck. And
but every year at Minnesota, every year at Brainerd, go help them clean up the campgrounds.
He's dumpster diving after Brainerd.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, they got a couple places that save us their bottles, and because people walk in my garage and they say that I didn't drink all that. So I want to make a statement right now. I did not drink all that. So you get a lot of people drop them off, and then we have a lot of people that my wife and I had this bottle of wine on our anniversary. Could you make it into a candle for her or something like that? So yeah, we do a lot of the custom work too and stuff. So yeah, so
when they bring that up, is that when you just crank the rods out of it?
I ask them usually, have you got two? Do you have two bottles? Because it is glass, and there's
a chance.
I've got pretty good at it, but it's 99%. It's not 100%. Yeah.
TA Candles, the perfect anytime gift. How large is the business?
It's still a little side hobby, a little something we do on the side, do at home, and I usually cut most of the glass and do all the polishing and sanding of the bottles, and she'll do most of the pouring, and she's pretty good at mixing the colors and the scents together, and. So we just
like
do
a cappuccino or something. Some really beautiful stuff, honestly.
Yeah, I tell you, the Starbucks ones are.
Yeah,
man, we blow them out of the water. They go. I need more people to drink Starbucks and bring me the bottles. So
is it the glass bottles?
Yeah, little glass bottles you get at the convenience stores.
Right.
Man,
I was told not to drink those anymore, but I'm trying to help.
For a good
never
cause.
go there. I seriously have no idea what you're talking about. I never go to Starbucks.
Yeah, they're the glass bottles about like this.
Yeah, the iced coffees.
Oh, I know what
get
you're
them
talking
at convenience
about.
stores and stuff. Yeah.
And if anybody
seen them there, I've seen them on the plane because you can buy them on the plane. That's where I saw them.
Yeah, if anybody listening wants to donate those Starbucks bottles,
Yeah,
we'll get
at
you
Christmas
set up.
time, those are a
There's a
big
case
seller.
of 'em.
Yeah, they're a big seller at Christmas time. But yeah, it's a seasonal business too because we ship them and we can't really ship them in July. You get there and you have a melted candle,
yeah.
So so it's really big during the Christmas seasons and the
things
cooler
you
months.
learn.
Yeah. I know for a fact that it happens. I've done it.
We got a leaker.
Yeah.
But the real business that he's running now is the woodworking / carpentry work.
Yeah. Yeah, another accidental job that I got. I have a parts business. I sell supplies to all the race teams as well.
Well, we were going to get to that. We figured that's like second fiddle
yeah,
down
but
all
I
that.
get into all this stuff by accident. But yeah, I've always been into woodworking. In high school, I was kind of into woodworking. And, I was really into woodworking. I had 3 hours a day my senior year because I didn't want to go to class. I just want to go to woodworking.
I love that. Yeah.
So I always did it, kind of a little hobby. But when the pandemic hit and we were locked at home, I started building a few things, and then I built a few more things, and I remodeled our kitchen and gutted it. And,
so I'm watching this on Facebook, right? I'm watching the progression of this. I'm like, he's got some skills. I mean, this is like some real business right here,
He's been practicing on glass. Wood's easy.
Yeah. So I can repair wood sometimes. Yeah.
So my dad was a general contractor. My brother Scott has followed along in the business, and so it's hilarious. I mean, so I'm watching this the whole time, and I'm like, this dude's got some skills here, and then everybody starts chiming in. So
yeah, so I remodeled our kitchen, our bathroom, and our basement bar, and a bedroom, and then I was tired of spending money, so I started making some stuff I could sell to people, and just had people, hey, would you make me one of these? And I made dog ramps for a lady that does my website. She needed dog ramps, so I made those, and then I got a request to make a kids booster stool. It's like so they can get up to the sink and wash their hands.
Oh, yeah.
Help
The
you.
step-up thing. Yes,
yeah,
I
so I
saw
drew
that.
one up. They sent me a picture one. I'm like, yeah, I'll build you one, but not that. That's crude. We're not making that. So I designed one, drew it all up, and made it hinge so when you can unlatch it and fold it in half, and it becomes a desk for the kids so they can sit their iPad and watch a movie at their little desk, and then you fold it back and they can climb up to wash their hands.
Top fuel version of the stool.
Yeah, well, you got to make one. You got to make one.
I mean, you got to turn it around quick.
So those started selling, and then I sold some to some people, and they wanted some work done in their house. So I started doing some work in the remodeling in their house, and I built starting to build a lot of custom furniture for people. Something unique. Like I built a coffee table for my wife that we had this little fire pit, indoor fireplace thing. You put ethanol in it and light it, and it sits there and burns. It looks like a little fireplace. But she wanted the table, instead of setting it on it, she wanted it to be part of the table. So I built a coffee table, and it's in the center of it, built in,
so now it's just a challenge to her.
Yeah.
She's like,
that's good woodworking whenever you can put a fire in the middle of your woodworking table.
Yeah.
That's
Well, it's because it's got glass around it. I got to have all three of those things.
Yeah. I mean, don't leave out the most important part of this. All right, please. This guy goes 300 plus mile an hour, but that has nothing to do with this. So
yeah. Well, my latest I actually was working on before I came to the show is. I was asked to build an urn, a cremation box for someone, and I'm like, well, yeah, sure, I guess I can. I've never made one, but do a little research, go to Pinterest, and figure out what they look like or what they're supposed to look like, and so just about complete. Just about a friend of my dad's that his brother's got cancer and is passing away, and wanted to know if I would make him a box for him, and sure, I'd be honored to. So. Yeah, it's kind of amazing sometimes where it's taking you, and you never know where the next thing you're going, and you have no idea what's down the road. But I enjoy it. I've never found a passion like I love racing. The passion's been there so many years, and just I made every sacrifice in the book to do it, and I've never found something else that gives me passion. And I got a little passion from this woodworking and the glass working and. It's a challenge, and you surprise yourself once in a while. You make something, you think, man, that's actually pretty nice. I might even buy that. So.
And that pandemic, that time that everybody suddenly found that they never had before, opened up those opportunities for so many people.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of weird. I just thought, let's do it. And had nothing else to do, so let's try it.
I found that I had a bunch of employees, and I better get off my ass and make sure we keep them.
You did a nice pivot and found a way to make some money. It was actually a pretty impressive move. I'm not going to lie.
So speaking of your parts business, what are tjracing.net and tjracinginc.net? What have you got there?
Yeah, so this all started when I went to work for Schumacher. All the race teams there were 7 race teams, and they all just went out and bought whatever they needed. And he asked me to kind of bring it in house and let's build a store here. I don't want these teams out just buying it because we had 7 teams, and they were buying it from 7 different places for 7 different prices. So I brought all that in house, and we did bulk purchasing and brought everything in there. And then when I left, I had a lot of the other race teams say, "Hey, where'd you get that deal? I know you were getting a deal." I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you. I had to work to find that, and had to work to do this."
Right.
After about the 4th or 5th team calling, they said, "Why don't you just buy the stuff and sell it to us? We get a better deal, and we can get it all at one place and be done with it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Well, so I bought a few things, and it all sold. So I bought a few more, and now I tell everybody I sell everything that when you open the door of your trailer, the cabinet door, and you go, "Man, we're out of that again." That's what I sell. If you use it once a year, I don't sell it. But if you continually run out of it every week, it's your rags and your paper towels and your silicones and brake cleans and Loctites and nuts and bolts and like in fuel racing, spark plugs. We burn 16 plugs a run, so I sell spark plugs and
E3.
E3s, Champions, NGKs, you name it, I got them all. So it's just it's consumables, and I know the business well enough that I know everything that we need to run a race team. And I brought all that in-house in one place. So, for instance, back in the day, we would send a guy out at 9 in the morning to go get supplies, and he would be gone till 3 in the afternoon because he went to 14 different places.
Right.
And he usually forgot something, so he had to leave again. So he got back at 5, and it was time for him to go home. So I brought everything in-house, and now when the race teams need their supplies, they send a guy over, and he's back to the shop in 15, 20 minutes.
So have you got a spot? I mean, do you?
Yeah, I got over on the South Point Circle, over right across from the Lucas building, and all the race teams, right in the midst of all the race teams in Larry Dixon's building.
Yeah. Okay.
So I got a little shop there, and it's a one-man band, but I'm able to take care of all the race teams.
So is your woodworking stuff there?
No,
the
that's at home.
Stuff there?
No, candles. I make a lot of drives from the shop to home every day. Yeah, I've got that route down pretty good now. And I got them all scheduled. I love texting nowadays. The race teams say, "When are you going to be at your shop?" They know I'm doing other things.
How much are you buying, and when do you need me there?
Yeah. How big's your order? I can be there today, or I can be there tomorrow. Yeah. So it's I've been doing that about 6-7 years now. So it's just probably about 70 to 80% of the fuel teams now are customers of mine, and just it simplifies everything from them, and everybody gets a little better price on everything, and it. I don't make enough money, but everybody on the race teams gets a better deal.
Good for you.
He's just doing it because he loves to sell parts.
Well, what's funny is my dad had the mail order business, sold parts and stuff, and he actually sold his business, years ago and retired. And he asked me, I said, I don't want to sell parts. I had to help him when I was a kid. I had to box up all the stuff and ship it out. I don't want to sell parts.
Right.
And one day he says to me, I didn't think you wanted to sell parts. I said, well, sometimes you just do what you know. You got to do what you know, and I know how to sell parts.
I still blame you for that, Dad. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think he was proud of it. I might have been a little perturbed that I waited until he sold his business and to decide to do it. But,
yeah, right.
But I think he was proud of it, because he taught me that. I worked in the shop, boxing up stuff and putting shipping labels on it, and out the door it went.
You're like me. I mean, if I can't do it the hard way, I'm not going to do it at all. So you go ahead and sell that one, and I'll do a complete startup.
Mine has a computer. Let me tell you that right now. Mine has a computer and a website, and his didn't have either. So
plug that one more time. TJ's
Racing.
Yeah, TJRacingInc.net.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just it's consumables. It's if race car, there's more to driving a car than driving a car. Well, there's more to running a car than just money. There's a lot of parts that go into it. So you got to feed that thing stuff to keep it going.
Wonderful stuff, man. Let's talk about those guys that you drove for. I'm not going to put you on a point and say who was the best to drive for. My guess is everybody had something different, something special. But of Schumacher, Bernstein, Prudhomme, Gibbs, what was the biggest difference? I would think, Gibbs is one way, and you talked about Al Hoffman. I mean, I just see those two guys being completely at opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, that was big. That was big difference. Yeah, I mean, Joe Gibbs was my first foray into being a hired driver, and the way he ran his team was unbelievable. I think a lot of people could learn a lot of things by watching what he does, and they run a nice program and very first class professional. I learned a ton. I'd never been to a sponsor seminar. You can bring all your sponsors in and have a little meetings together, and open my eyes to a lot of things. And then to go to like you said, Al Hoffman, where I had to put my fire suit on in the back of the trailer with their dog. I'm not sure. I think maybe a pit bull or something sitting there going, looking at you. So it was a little different. Yeah, but It is. It's interesting. Everybody runs their operation a little different. Everybody has a little different personalities, and Perdome, he and I have always clicked. He's one of the most intense competitors you'll ever meet. And he will yell and scream at you and tell you how screwed up you are, and then slap you on the back and say, "Okay, we're good. Let's go have a beer." And he supported you both ways, and we've continued that friendship for years. And Bernstein was 100% business. Everything had to be meticulous, very, very nice. Everything, the appearance was almost as much as winning the race. We had to be starched jeans, and it was everything perfect. And Schumacher is a businessman as well, and he's his method was to drive you harder and harder and harder, and once every 5 years give you a attaboy, and you had to earn your attaboy really hard, and there was times that you think, man, this guy doesn't appreciate anything I do, but he did. It's just his different way of trying to motivate you and make you better, and they all different in their own ways, and it was, you had to learn to adjust and even as yourself, what motivates you. Sometimes you almost have to tell them, like, hey, that doesn't work for me. I'm tired of being beat down. I don't get better by being beat down. Sometimes I need a little support. So. You have to learn and be able to work with your owners and work and get everybody on the same page. And team chemistry is a big deal in racing. I think that's where I'm kind of proud of being able to try to help build chemistry amongst guys. I've had some really good crew guys and really good teams, and they don't happen by accident. You have to try to work at that and get everybody along. And these guys live together. They're more than their wives, most of them. So. You have to really work at building a team and a team chemistry and
their girlfriends.
Yeah, you turn your eye to some things and you pat them on the back for others.
I was taught very early on. Actually, Brett Kepner was the one that offered this first piece of advice to me when I was first starting off in the career, which was, no news is good news in our world. Meaning, as long as they don't say anything to you, okay, you're not getting the pat on the back, you're not getting the attaboy, but you're still working. Your attaboy is, you're doing the job, and your attaboy was you got to put the helmet on and climb in the car. You were still doing your job, and for them, that's basically saying, we're happy with what you're doing. You're going to get to do it again.
Hey, he's a driver. You're making this weird now.
No, because the phone would ring on Monday if you weren't doing your job. If you didn't have a really good weekend, they would call Monday and just say, hey, how's
That's why I say
going,
no news is good news. Whenever they're talking to you, it's probably not good.
Right.
Yeah, when you pull your phone out and you go, oh, this isn't good. Yeah. So, if the phone wasn't ringing, life was good.
We'll be right back after this.
The redesigned Jaguar F-Type can take you places no other sports car can. To a transcendent state where power, performance, and design make driving sublime. Where all that matters to you is the road and the roar of the engine. The supercharged V8 in the F-Type R can go from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Always follow local speed limits. The resculpted hood, swept-back headlights, and seductive contours slice through the wind. Inside, the cockpit is driver-focused with a configurable digital instrument panel that provides all the information you need. It's an exhilarating combination of design and performance that makes the Jaguar F-Type like no other sports car in the world. Learn more at JaguarUSA.com.
It's crazy how much we have to pay for outdated, impersonal healthcare, and even crazier that we all just accept it. It's time to face facts. Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, there's Forward, a new approach to primary care that's surprisingly personal and refreshingly straightforward. Forward never makes you feel like just another patient. Backed by top-rated doctors and the latest tech, Forward gives you access to personalized care whenever you need it. Using in-depth genetic analysis and real-time blood work, Forward's top-rated doctors provide you with in-depth insights to better understand your genetics, mental, and physical health. They then create custom, easy-to-understand plans to help guide you to achieving long-term health. With Forward, you get unlimited in-person visits with your doctor and access to care anytime via the Forward app, all for one flat monthly fee. It's time to stop accepting backwards healthcare and start moving your health forward. Visit GoForward.com today to learn more. That's GoForward.com.
This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Rhino Classifieds. Tired of all those ads and random stuff that shows up when you're looking to buy or sell your car parts? Rhino Classifieds was created just for you. Welcome to a streamlined buying and selling app created by racers for racers and race fans. Modified cars, classic cars, race cars, that special big block you need, the trailer to move your baby around the country in. We got you at rhino.co. So talk to me about the future, man. What's coming up in 2021? What do you see going forward? You've played this game for a long time, seen the sponsors come, seen the sponsors go. You've bobbed, you've weaved, you managed to stay in the game. But it's always tough, especially when you have big sponsors that become lifelong friends. That relationship that you had with those people, that goes away. What lays in front of you now? Where are you going?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, it's tough right now. I mean, it's no secret that COVID and all the pandemic has made things a little bit difficult for everybody, and I'd certainly hope something would come along. But I'm just going to be patient. Last time I think was 4 years, almost 5 years in between rides, but I did a bunch of other stuff in between them. So I'll keep busy. I've got a couple people maybe have asked about testing a car here or there, and running some other cars. I've talked to the people in Australia about going back down there and running, but keep working on it. Keep trying to secure something. And I'm not. Second place leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And it's like, yeah, I've had a great career, but man, I was second. I was that close, and it leaves a little fire in you. It's like I don't want to. I've had a great career and I can walk away anytime. No, I don't want to now. I want to do it again.
He's got 20 more years. I'm telling you. Force has proven that.
If you're finished sixth, it's like, all right, whatever. But to be that close.
Be real close. To be real close and then be out of a ride, it's really aggravating, and it's like it drives you a little bit. So, yeah, I'm going to try to put something together, and then you never know what lies ahead. Hopefully something will come together and we can get back out there and run full time. And it's a lot of years on the road and a lot of travel, and I enjoy my time at home. I actually had a really good time during the quarantine last year, being at home and doing this stuff, and something I never got to do my whole life. I was like, wow, this is unique. This is what people do every weekend. So it's I enjoyed that. So I could see me doing it for a while longer, but I mean, I don't know if I want to be like John Forrest and be 70-some years old and doing this. It's a lot of time away and a lot of time traveling, and I got to hand it to him. I don't know if that's what I'd want to do, but certainly
he's wired a little different.
Yeah, he is definitely.
And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, he just is.
No slight. His passion and his love for the sport is like no other, and his love for the business of the sport is like no other. I think he thrives as much on, the sponsorships that he's had to go from Ford to Chevy and the companies that he's had from oil maker to oil maker, and to replace those with competitors, that typically would have. Yeah, it's amazing, and I think that's just as exciting to him as getting in the race car.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what he lives for. And that's what's keeping him going. That's why you wouldn't know he was at his age right now, because that's what drives him. That's what keeps him young. And I feel the same way. I went to a class reunion and I thought, wow, what happened to you people? It's racing that keeps you young. It keeps you going and keeps you thriving. And I don't want to lose that. I want to keep going. And so hopefully something comes along, we get back in the seat. And in the meantime, I'll stay as active as I can and jump in something here and there and drive whatever. But I've driven about every class there is except for one or two, and not sure I want to drive either one of those. But I don't care. I'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. So yeah, it's future's wide open right now. Just waiting to ride it.
You have a preference? Can you tell a difference between quarter mile and 1,000 foot?
Not really.
I know initially when it happened, of course you're going to feel it, but
I can tell you this: I would not drive one of our cars nowadays to a quarter of a mile. There's no way. There's just it's not safe. It's definitely not safe. It's hard enough to get these things stopped now at 1,000 feet instead of going to a quarter mile and losing that 320 feet. And the speeds that we're running are incredible. To 1,000 feet, I ran faster to 1,000 feet than I ever have in my career to a quarter of a mile. So,
which is amazing how they caught that up with the shortening of the track.
Not only that, but if you recall, they went from 100% nitro, right?
Yeah,
back to 90%, and it choked them back for. It took them a minute to figure that one out.
Yeah, it's racers in general will you tie their hands behind their back, and they figured out how to get them free again.
Well, I've always said those guys that are working on them are rocket scientists that just decided to play with cars.
Yeah, you start looking at little things, and it's all of a sudden the little things make a big thing, and you start putting 4 or 5 little things together, and that equals a big thing. So,
well, I always thought it was kind of cool because they could never use all the power. I still can't use all the power. Consequently, the clutches that you guys use, but now they just say, okay, well, we'll back this thing up and we'll go 1-to-1 a little bit sooner, and we'll start making up time that way.
Yeah, it's amazing the technology, and like always had a lot of power, and these things making 11,000 horsepower. But how do you use all that, and the technology in the clutch, and how they've figured out how to apply that without slipping the tire and accelerate the car faster, and I mean, these things go 0 to 100 miles an hour in less than a second. So. It's a ride that I don't want to give up. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush off the chart. So it's the hardest thing as a driver to do is stay ahead of the car because you're accelerating so fast. Is being able to think faster than the car's moving, and that's what I give advice to the new drivers is you have to get comfortable enough to be ahead of the car, and you have to think faster than that car is because the advice I got when I started was if you think it moved over 6 inches, it moved 6 feet. They're accelerating that hard. So, yeah, it's an unbelievable rush to accelerate these cars that fast. And everybody says, how fast can they go or how quick can they go? You still got to leave the start line before you get to the finish line. Other than that, there's no limit.
Yeah, I agree.
But the story, a good one that you're talking about, something funny was Antron talking about when you have a wreck. And, of course, Antron may be just a little animated
because it hits you so hard you go it just took off, like, ooh, there's the 60-foot cock clone, it's getting through the jiggle, Lord, right. It's coming up on the tire, darn bump, they can't fix this track.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, what the hell, man?
And then you get to half track and you hit the trans, like, ooh, it's hooked up, like, God, dog, it's starting to spin the tire. They got to put this fresh paved asphalt down. They couldn't let it season in.
Everybody thinks in drag racing, well, how hard is it? You just go straight down the track. The last thing that thing wants to do is go straight down the track, and especially in a funny car.
Yeah.
Funny cars are all over the place, and it's if my car goes straight, it wasn't because it was just it wasn't because you wasn't doing anything. That I was working to keep it straight. I mean, that's in the funny car and a dragster are night and day difference to drive. They're totally different animals. The funny car, you never stop steering. The dragster, you telling yourself, don't steer, don't steer, don't steer.
The tire shake stuff. Where do you feel that first? You feel it in your hands? You feel it in your butt?
Your head usually. Yeah, I mean,
so there's no warning.
Warning.
You
whatever.
Just feel it directly up at the top of the seat.
Yeah, I mean, in your butt and in your head. I mean, it just beats your head side to side. It's a weird thing to describe to people what tire shake is, but it's actually the tires trying to run over itself, and it's running over each tire, and they're doing it independently, and it's just taking your head and beating it right.
Yeah, when you say maybe a better description is it's actually folding under itself. Yeah,
folding under. It's trying to run over itself, and it's folding under there, and it's brutal. It's very brutal.
And what does that cause from?
Well, it's multiple things. It can be either too fast, your wheel speed's too fast, or it can be wheel speed too slow. It's too stuck to the track. You actually want those big rear slicks to be slipping. You do not want them stuck to the ground because then the tire can't get out of its way fast enough. So it needs to just be slipping. It can't be spinning, but it's got to be slipping.
Don't run new slicks every time?
Yeah, don't run new slicks. Yeah, well, only at nighttime. Night runs, you got to have it because the track's really tight. You need a little slip. So.
And it blows me away. You say that, and we chuckle, we laugh. Because everything else in the racing world, you want a new tire. But I can't tell you how many times I've walked up to the back of a fuel car, and you can see where the edges are blistered, and they'll go out there and make another run. I'm like, how's that even possible?
Yeah, new tires they don't have the grip that a heat cycled tire does. You would only run a new tire at nighttime, when the track is really tight and we want a little wheel speed. And if your track's hot during the day, you want a tire that's really sticky. So you get one that's been run, several runs or, at least one.
Yeah, I mean, you see the tire, you can see where it's just the heat's been in it, where it's like purple.
Yeah.
On the edges of it, it's like...
And just to clarify for the fans that maybe aren't used to the terminology, but you say when the track is tight, it has a ton of grip. You want a new tire so it will actually have a little more slip.
Yeah, you want it to slip a little bit, when the track's really tight. And then when it's hot and sunny out, then you want a tire that's got some runs on it, so it's a little grippier, so you have more grip because the track will give you your slip then. So yeah, it's a science. I mean, down to the tires, even tire size. they're all the same, but yet when they come out of the mold, each set's a little bit different size. So we would have on hand at least 6 to 8 sets of tires, and we run a shorter tire if the track is tight. If we run a little taller tire if it's a loose track, so we can vary that with air pressure and stretching the tire a little bit. We'll sit out in the sun and stretch it, make a bigger set. Keep some that are small, keep some big in the middle. So we'll change set of tires just based off of track conditions on how much wheel speed we think we're going to have at the starting line.
And clearly a matching set. Last thing you want is one size.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, you want
and I'm sure easy to do. You know?
It's not a sprint car. There's no big right.
No
rear.
stagger.
Yeah, no stagger. Yeah, you want to make sure they're even. Yeah,
he's got 3 inches of stagger in that funny car. Ugh.
Yeah, this thing's pulling to the left real bad. I can't figure it out. Yeah. I thought I had a cylinder out, but it's just rear tires are off. Yeah.
So much technology inside of that sport, and that's what I really love about it. The deeper you get into it, to see just how good these guys are, and it's always amazing to me. When I was a new dad coming into karting with my son, you want to throw the kitchen sink at it. Oh, he's off the pace. We need to do this and this and this, and the good guys are like, let's just do this little thing over here. We're not that far away. But if you're new to it, you want to throw the kitchen sink at this thing, and it's amazing how much difference those little bitty increments will make as you guys pick away at it.
The kitchen sink and a pocketbook.
Yeah,
that's what you really want to throw at it.
Yeah, your wallet and the kitchen sink.
Yes, exactly.
Man, great stuff. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I know you're close to town, and we'd love to have you over here more often.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything you've done, all the memories you've made, and the good times you've given us all along the way. I know you were having a good time in the car as well, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
But we appreciate what you've done in your career, man. It's pretty special.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun than hitting the throttle and then pulling the chutes. Yeah, it's what it's all about. The acceleration and then the decel.
Awesome stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Johnson Jr. here on The Skinny, and now you know The Skinny about him. Hopefully he finds some sponsorship. We see him back out there doing what he loves to do best in 2021. For Rico Elmore, I'm Ken Stout. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being with us here on The Skinny. This episode has been brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, Dream Giveaway, and General Tire. For the latest in sunglasses, optical frames, accessories, and apparel, be sure to check out fatheads.com. That's Fatheads with a Z. Production facilities provided by Fatheads Eyewear Studios. All rights reserved. Dedicated to the memory of Tommy Johnson Sr.
¿Por qué esta Coca-Cola de McDonald's sabe tan bien? ¿Será la máquina? ¿Será el popote o el hielo? O quizás soy yo.
No sé, Diego, pero vámonos, ¿no? El ¿por qué esto sabe tan bien deal? Un refresco de cualquier tamaño por $1, solo en el $1, $2, $3 menu de McDonald's. Precios y participación pueden variar. No se puede combinar con cualquier otra oferta o combo mío. Coca-Cola es una marca registrada de The Coca-Cola Company.
The Truth Hounds is a new investigative podcast. One like you've never seen before.
Well, one like you've never heard before.
Comedians and real-life friends Anna Saragina
and Kyle Mazzono hold a humongous magnifying glass to life's smallest mysteries.
There will be laughs.
Ha ha!
There will be tears.
Why?
And there will be mysteries.
What is that right over there? Oh, it's my missing sock. The Truth Hounds premieres June 15th with new episodes coming out every Tuesday. Listen to Truth Hounds on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.